Welcome to this edition of Insider Secrets, the weekly podcast that turns real estate investing goals into reality. Each show, we interview guests who are seasoned real estate professionals, actively closing and managing real estate deals. Mike is the founder of My Core Intentions and would like to help you make your real estate investing dreams a reality. Mike coaches you to buy investment real estate, creating short-term cash flow and long-term wealth. Your host and real estate coach, Mike Morawski, has more than 30 years of real estate investing and property management experience. Here's your host, Mike.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Good morning. And it is a great morning today. I am glad that you are here. And let me just tell you, I know that I usually say, hey, buckle up, get ready for this episode. But get ready for this one. I have a great guest on. We'll get to that in a minute. But if you are new to the program, I'm glad that you're here. Grab your coffee, sit back, take a listen this morning because we're going to give a lot of insight and a lot of knowledge, things that will help you, if you take those golden nuggets, move to the next level. But first, before I start, and I start this way all the time, is what is your intentions? What are you intentional about? Ultimately, you are intentional enough about coming to the show and trying to gain some piece of knowledge. But what are you trying to do in your life? I always talk to people about your daily disciplines. What are you doing on a daily basis? Are you meditating? Are you praying? Are you exercising? Are you working on eating right? Are you calibrating yourself? What are you doing to keep your mind in the game? And the thing for people is that none of us grow professionally unless we're growing personally. So what are you doing for yourself to help you go to the next level personally? Hey, if you like what you hear this morning, like us, love us, subscribe to us, smash the subscribe button on YouTube and get notified when we go live here. So let me talk about my guest for a minute. I am so excited about today's episode. My guest, Matthew Ferry from Matthew Ferry International, Orange County, California. I have known Matthew for, and I'm going to date both of us right now, probably 30 years. I met Matthew years ago when I was following his dad for real estate training and learning scripts and dialogues. But Matthew brings a different side of that whole program to the world, and he brings that mindset side. And we're going to talk today about drunk monkeys, and we're going to talk about enlightenment, and we're going to talk about how to get right, how to get straight. Let me bring him in real quick. Matthew, what's up?
What's up, everybody?
How are you?
I'm good.
It's so good to see you. I'm so glad that we finally had this chance to connect like this.
Yes, sir. We've been planning it for a long time, but we finally got it on the calendar.
We have. And life is funny how it circles up, circles back, circles around. You learn to ride it.
You ride those waves. You and I were connected back in the day when we thought that money, success, glory, all of that was going to bring happiness and joy and peace. And while those are important parts of the equation, now hopefully we've realized that that joy and that peace is really an inner quality in a game. And I hope that that's what we're going to talk about with our listeners today.
Yeah, I started following the Big Ferry many moons ago. Date myself a little bit, probably around 30 years ago. And I'll never forget those first questions. When do you plan on moving, right?
Plan on moving.
And how soon do you plan on moving? Anyhow, hey, one question I ask all my guests when I start my show is, in one word, what best describes you personally and professionally?
Peace.
Peace. I love that. Where's that come from for you today in your life?
2006 culminated a really, really long journey. Probably since when I was about 9 years old, I started having these crazy experiences where I felt like I was leaving my body. I don't know if I was, probably not, but the experience was profound. At 9, I was experiencing myself as some kind of infinite, and that all the rules that we followed were really just made up, and that the rules didn't actually apply, and that following the rules would make you miserable. Now, when you're 9 years old, you have nobody to tell about that, right? So I began studying maybe when I was about 12 years old. I started to studied, like I went and got my first communion, and then I started reading the Bhagavad Gita, and then I started playing around with like intentionally leaving my body and doing astral travel and meditation and just sex and drugs and rock and roll and everything that I possibly could to try and track down this peace. But in 2006, I went to Tibet and I meditated for 17 days. And in that process, my mind went completely quiet. And then I got home, Mike, and my mind started going crazy again. And it's been a journey ever since to figure out, how do you maintain peace as a productive member of society?
Wow, that's interesting. What I really picked up from what you just said was I spent 17 days here meditating and quieting my mind, and I came back to the noise, to all the craziness going on. And you shift like that, right? So before we get into some strategy or talk about how to maintain that peace or to get a level of peace all the time, talk about your history a little bit, about your background a little bit, where you come from
Yeah.
and where you're at today.
Yeah. So, like, I started with this idea of all the way back to 9 years old. But from a professional standpoint, when I was 17 years old, I got signed to my first recording deal as an artist and spent too many months in the studio and broke the schedule, broke the bank, broke the rules, and got fired. But then I went begging my father for a job. I didn't know what he did, actually. And it turns out that he was on his way to becoming one of the most successful and celebrated real estate agent trainers in the country. My brother and I both came on with him at the same time. And it was this magical combination of the three of us, him really the mentor and the leader, assisting both my brother Tom and I in becoming the men that we are today. Like, as the three of us really came together, my father's business grew from like $1 million a year to $40 million a year and now way beyond. And that process really transformed me because I met people like you. And when I met people like you, I was like, well, I don't get it. Like, there's this incredible success and power and ability. Like, what's going on there? And I had always been an inner world kind of guy versus an outer world kind of guy. So I was compelled to understand what makes someone like you tick and what makes some of the top producing real estate agents in the world really be able to do what they do. And that really led me on this guide of becoming someone who understands the inner qualities. Like, how do you live in a state of profound peace while kicking ass and having a great life? Like, that came from being around all these high performers.
Yeah, man, that's interesting. I heard Jim Rohn say years ago, success leaves clues. And that was one of those profound statements that always stuck with me. And I followed your dad, I followed you and your brother for years and years and learned so much: scripts, dialogues, NLP, embedded commands, how to say this, how to do this, how to be a great salesperson. And I was, but did I really have peace? I don't think so. We all go through these trials and tribulations in our life, and mine. And I've stumbled along the way. I've had great success, lost everything, and now working my way back. But today it's because of the lessons I've learned from you along the way and over the years. I gain more of that peace today.
Yeah. I think we get humbled by our breakdowns in a very positive way. And breakdown is the beginning of breakthrough. So if any of our viewers or listeners right now are in a breakdown, things aren't working or malfunctioning or screwed up or nasty bad, that is to be celebrated, because that shit that you're going through right now is leading you to the next breakthrough. And breakdown and breakthrough appear to be equal, meaning they're the same thing, but it's just on a different place in the timeline. So here's the breakdown is right here. The breakdown is a destructive phase of creation. And so breakthrough, it's progressing from the breakdown. They go in these cycles. And so if anyone that is listening right now is experiencing a breakdown, just trust it's always going your way, even when it's not. even when all hope is lost. If you're interested in watching a podcast like this, then you are someone who likes to learn and grow and become. And people who like to learn and grow and become tend to be more ordering, creative, functional. You may suck right now, and that's okay. But the very fact that you're listening to this is evidence that you are a creative type, that you want to create stuff, that you want to do stuff. And so all there is to do is just hang in there and put one foot in front of the other. And
Yeah.
ultimately the breakdown turns into a breakthrough.
Well, so many people say, oh my goodness, this happened to me. And I think you and I both come from the school today after years of thinking that maybe in our own life, oh, how could this have happened to me? But now it's like, look what happened for me.
Yeah.
Right? Look what that did to cause who I am today, to cause who you are going to be tomorrow as a result of what you go through today. And I think when I first got into your coaching program and your mastermind group, the Enlightened Mastermind, one of the first weeks you talked about that breakthrough, breakdown, and it was like clicked for me. And I kind of went, holy cow. It's crazy when you bring that perspective into the situation.
And that's it right there, Mike, is that the way to bring your A game and the way to bring your resourcefulness, your personal power, your creativity, your chutzpah, the way you do that is through a shift in your contextual frameworks. You shift the context. I call it in my methodology, recontextualization. When you recontextualize the situation, all of a sudden you have a different feeling, a different experience, and therefore you have access to different information, which then creates a whole new set of results because the actions are changed by the new information.
And one of the other key things that I think is really important is it's not just for you, but then it flows out for the people around you, right? Because now you become someone new, someone different, and you can extend that into your circles around you and those relationships around you. And other people kind of go, damn, what happened to him? Or, holy cow, I want to get like that, right?
Yeah. Or get it away from me.
Yeah, right.
It's important to know, I'm just going to say it again. If you're watching this, then you're not a normal person. You're the weirdo in life. You're a part of the human species that wants to learn, grow, become. You want to take things to greater heights. And please look around and realize almost no one else in your life gives a crap about that. And that's so important because as you change and become the best possible version of yourself, there's going to be a lot of people that don't like that.
Right.
It doesn't make them feel good. So your ability to change your context and share it into the world and then have a fairly sizable group reject that idea is really valuable, because then what happens is as you change and shift and become a more amazing version of yourself, you start to see like, oh, those are my people right there.
Yeah.
And you find those birds that you can flock together with, that all of you can rise together. That's what you created your coaching and training company for, right? Is to help people assemble like-minded individuals all come together.
Absolutely. People who want the same mission, the same vision, and want to grow. But it's like I said in my intro too, we have to grow personally to grow professionally. We don't grow professionally until we grow personally. And you never know where that's going to show up in your life or how it's going to show up. When I think about over the years, sitting in the back rows of your dad's 3,000 person summit, moving to the front rows, to leaving there, going to your brother, working for your brother, and now where I'm at today, being involved with you. And it's like this world circle that has just all those steps along the way help you design who you are. And I want people to realize that, because I think people need to step back and look at themselves. Hey, talk about this. Talk about the drunk monkey, would you?
I will. The drunk monkey is a language pattern that I started using when I was young, maybe about 21 years old. And I was meditating and was unable to get my mind to go quiet. And it made me hyper aware of that I had this critic in my head that was constantly bagging on me and labeling people and telling me that things weren't going to work out. And ultimately, one of my mentors said, well, you have a monkey mind. And I thought to myself, my monkey is wasted. My monkey is like a crazy, angry, hostile, drunk person. And it stuck for me back then, the drunk monkey. And so ever since then, I've used that as my way of distinguishing. There's a thing that talks in your head that isn't you. It's biological. It just talks whether you want it to or not. And it talks because there's a source. And in the Rapid Enlightenment Process, I've distinguished, and I talk about that in my book. So if you haven't got my book yet, you should get my book. It's called Quiet Mind, Epic Life. But in my Rapid Enlightenment Process, I started to distinguish the instincts that we have that trigger the mind to talk. It's what we're doing right now, Mike, in our mastermind together. And I call them hidden motives to survive. So these hidden motives are like little instinctive drives. We might think of them as hereditary. If consciousness is connected to our genetics, which we think it is scientifically at this moment, there's something that gets passed along that has every one of us experience greed, grudge, hatred, victim, illogical rules, humble, traitor, pride, resistance, and lazy. And any of those things getting triggered will get the mind talking. And that's what you experience as the drunk monkey. The drunk monkey wants to fit in. It wants to look good. It wants to be smart. It wants to be right. All of those things that essentially create anxiety and broken expectations.
Are you ready to skyrocket your investment portfolio and leave a legacy? Are you tired of inconsistent returns received in the stock market? Do you think it may be time to take a look at alternative investment options for your portfolio? Passive investing in multifamily real estate could be that option. With no tenants, trash, or toilets, providing a solid return on an annual basis that outperforms traditional investing, also receiving a monthly or quarterly return along the way. These lower risk and secure assets are a great hedge against inflation. If you want to learn more about these types of opportunities, you can email me directly to schedule a 15-minute consultation to see if you qualify. Just email me at mike@mikemorawski.com.
So what would you say right now to that woman or that man that wake up in the morning and they lay in bed and that alarm clock goes off and they go, I can't do this today. I just suck. I'm a failure. What would you say to that person right now?
I would say that you start with this mantra. Today, I am going to practice total and complete acceptance of all situations, all people, including myself. Today, I am going to practice total and complete acceptance of all situations, all people, and myself. This is an extremely tall order, but one of the primary tenets of the Rapid Enlightenment Process. To practice total and complete acceptance of all situations, all people, and yourself is an expression of maybe a game that I would ask them to play. And the game is something that I give as an assignment to my top dog clients. And it's called going on an opinion diet. And if you haven't watched my TED Talk on going on an opinion diet, I highly recommend it. If you go to my website, matthewferry.com, you can watch the TED Talk there. And then I also created a little 30-day opinion diet PDF for you to follow as my gift. But when you go on an opinion diet, essentially what you're doing is you're working to deactivate the drunk monkey in your head, because the drunk monkey has opinions on everything, including things it knows nothing about. And when we track back the source of our feeling like a fraud, or feeling like I'm limited, or feeling like I suck, or feeling like I'm a loser. All of those limiting feelings inside, when we really analyze what's going on, we start to see that they're sourced in an opinion, not a truth, not a reality. It's a made up story about life. And if you really pay attention to the drunk monkey, so we could say that the rapid enlightenment process is like a mastery level version of mindfulness. So as you become mindful of and aware of the drunk monkey, you begin to see the drunk monkey doesn't even like you. If your friends spoke to you like the drunk monkey does, you would not be their friend anymore. But you listen to the drunk monkey like the drunk monkey is your buddy, or like it's your trusted advisor. The drunk monkey doesn't care about you at all. So you release your listening and you start to give up your opinions. It's really, really powerful. I will give you some ideas on the opinion diet. The first thing is to give up your opinions about public figures and what they're doing, politicians, etc. If you're in America, you cast your vote and you spoke up and said, this is what I believe in. But sitting around pontificating and giving your opinion to your friends and family members about what's happening in the world, but you're not doing anything about it, is actually destructive. It's destructive to you and it's destructive to them. So stop giving your opinion. Instead, start taking action. Do something about it. If things are annoying you, they're annoying you because they're breaking your expectations, not because they're true. You have a preference, but you relate to your preference like your preference is reality. And your preference is not reality. It's just your bullshit. So own that. If you want to change the world, then change the world. But complaining about it and giving your opinion to all these people who don't really care, not really good for anybody. The second thing to do in your opinion diet, very simple. Stop giving your opinion about world affairs and, what they're doing over in that country and what's happening in global warming and all of these things, all of these sort of world events that you are not an expert in. For 30 days, just stop giving your opinion and see what happens. Now, if you want to do something, please do something. We would love for you to take action. But you're whining, you're complaining, you're pontificating, you're moaning and talking about how amazing you are. Number 3 is essentially to stop trying to solve problems through your agitation and start trying to solve problems through your alignment. Like, go do something, go take action. And that kind of goes into number 4. So number 4 is to accept what you cannot change and to do something about what you can change. So if you'll give up your opinions for 30 days and stop telling people about what you think the world should be, and you stop holding people accountable to agreements they didn't make, you stop telling people that you're an expert on things that you're not, you stop giving your opinions that create conflict, what you'll find is your overall well-being will improve dramatically. And when your well-being improves, suddenly, going all the way back to Mike's original question, you're less prone to some of the self-sabotage and the negativity and the feelings of doubt and fear and uncertainty that you experience. So my recommendation is, for the next 30 days, please just go on an opinion diet, see what happens.
Yeah, interesting. So another question I would ask you is, over the years, we've heard a lot of these terms. We've heard commands, NLP, terms and terminology like that when it comes to a sales concept, right?
Yeah, that's stuff that I love.
Right. So how does that clue in today, business, life, everything that you teach?
So great. I would say that neuro-linguistic programming, so NLP has been taken over by the artificial intelligence community, And NLP now, for most people, means natural language processing, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about neuro-linguistic programming. It's a form of self-help therapy, essentially. Some therapists actually do use NLP in their own process. And I learned some of that, but when I learned NLP from the standpoint of being persuasive and influential. And it changed my life. As someone who wants to do multifamily investing, it is my strongest recommendation that you learn to sell. And you don't learn to sell to become a slimy salesperson. You learn to sell because there will be so many situations that you're going to find yourself in which you're saying one thing, blah, 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 but the person that you're talking to is hearing another thing, la, 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 la. And you're mismatching each other. And so why I loved neuro-linguistic programming is that it helped me to understand how people's minds worked and what impact words had on how people experience things. And so interesting that you're bringing this up, because one thing that happened to me this last year was one of my longest time students and mentees, who is now a mentor in his own right and a luminary in his own right, is a man named Bill Pipes. I think you remember Bill. Bill approached me and said, Matthew, everybody has tried to teach your NLP program and they've failed. And I want to teach your NLP program, but I don't want to fail. And I don't understand, like, why did it work so well when you taught it? And I said, well, because I taught NLP plus these other components, integrity and accountability. And he was like, whoa. And he said, I would like to license this from you and bring you in as my partner so that I can teach it. And so today we've completed our first beta test of Bill training the NLP Plus program. And he's about to start his next one, and specifically working with real estate investors and working with real estate agents. And so I'm excited that you're bringing it up, because I think people should check that out.
Yeah.
And you can track down Bill Pipes on Instagram or Facebook. That's kind of where he's younger than me, so that's where he spends his time.
Well, and maybe you can connect me with Bill and I can have him on the podcast.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
Yes.
if you want to do that, I'd love to have Bill Pipes on.
100%.
I've always had a lot of respect for him. We kind of grew up in that whole aura of everybody, right? Ty, Thatch, Joe, Bill. So we all grew up together.
What I wanted to do was circle back on this NLP thing. I just wanted to add one more component, if that's okay.
Yep, please.
I think what I took away from neuro-linguistic programming and the language patterns. So Mike was bringing up embedded commands, for example. Embedded commands are just a way of linguistically representing things so that your ideas stick into people's brains. And why I found that to be so fascinating is that I started to have a realization as my mind went quiet and I stopped having the nagging thoughts of uncertainty and anger and self-loathing, and like all that stuff went away. What stood revealed to me was that NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, was actually showing me how reality is constructed, and it is constructed linguistically for people. So when you learn NLP, you actually are learning the language of creation, the language of reality. So you're able to step back and see, and this was important for me, like, oh, how I see things and what I believe is complete and total bullshit. I am 100% verifiably full of shit, as is everybody else in the world. Whoa. Given that, it would be very effective for me to have a lot more compassion for the people around me, because the people around me really do think that they know what reality is. And that is the source of their suffering and their misery, similar to me. That was the source of my suffering and misery. So it was this combination, Mike, of having my mind go quiet and then starting to have these realizations about how reality was constructed that enabled me to go into a much more peaceful state and also be much more peaceful about selling,
Yeah.
making requests, going to people and saying, hey, I would like you to do this, and not feeling weird about it, not feeling insecure.
Right. I
It's
love
really
that. I
powerful.
would like you to do this and not feeling weird about it. And one of the key points I think you said early on was that everybody's a salesman. Whether you're selling your spouse on something, whether you're selling your kids on something, whether you're selling the gardener on planting some extra trees or bushes, or you're selling real estate, or you are selling an investor or a seller on why you're the best investor to buy the deal. So everybody sells something at some point in their life. So I think that this process is really impactful. So one more thing I want you to touch on before we're getting close to the end here, down to the last few minutes. Law of attraction, attracting things into your life. What's your belief philosophy around that? How's that work for you?
I consider myself a crash test dummy for the law of attraction. I started to study my father's mentor, a man named Earl Nightingale, very early on in my life, maybe 21 years old. And he was that you become what you think about. Then I became very, very into Esther and Jerry Hicks' methodology on the law of attraction and really, really worked the system, like really just went all the way in. And I can say that being committed to that, I have attracted recording contracts. And after my whole recording career died, I used that idea set and that methodology to start getting my songs published. In fact, at part-time, I was already working in a totally different industry. I had a couple of CDs that I made, music CDs with affirmations. Those things made about $1.5 million selling $20 CDs. And when I look back, I would say I credited that idea set about the law of attraction. Today, I have a different take on it. And what I find is that the law of attraction, ultimately, as my mind went quiet, I realized, oh, I'm labeling something that is not explainable. And I'm putting a label on it to make myself feel better. And it's like why the apple tree grows. Do we know why the apple tree grows? If you ask a scientist, they'll give you a whole bunch of stuff. But in the end, if you go, but do we know why it grows? The answer is no. Do we know how it grows? The answer is actually no. We can describe it. The cells divide and blah, 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 and all this stuff. But we don't even know why they're doing that. And the law of attraction is a very similar thing. We have created a linguistic representation to describe something that we don't understand. And in the end, I find better to think of it like growing an apple tree. I don't know why the apple tree goes from the seed to the thing that bears fruit. I don't know why. But here's what I do know. I do know how to create the conditions that are conducive to produce the result that I want. So I can plant the garden, have the right sunlight, the right amount of water. I can make sure that there are no bugs trying to attack my plant. I can make sure that there's enough nutrients in the soil. I can create the conditions that are necessary to produce the results that I want. And so through my journey with the law of attraction, I have had to personally transcend the idea of the law of attraction and just admit, I don't fucking know what's happening.
Yeah.
And instead, what I say is, I'm going to create the conditions for these miracles to occur. And I'm going to do everything in my power to have them occur. And it ultimately came down to the realization, I am the creative force that is creating. I am what is being created. You can't separate me from what I'm attracting because I'm not attracting it. I am it. It's coming through me. It's not from me. It's not external. It's all one thing expressing itself as an infinite variety of things. So that's probably a little more than you wanted as an answer, but that's where I'm coming from.
But we needed to have all that. So even though it was a little bit more, that was great because we needed to have all that. And listen, from just a kind of a selfish place, right? And if my listeners don't get anything out of today, I sure did. And just spending time with you. So I'm sure that my listeners got a lot. Listen, rapid fire, 3 quick questions. Best book you ever read?
Eye of the Eye by Dr. David Hawkins.
Okay. Best restaurant?
Best restaurant? No clue. Too many.
Really?
Yeah.
Give me one. Come on.
Well, I like Nobu.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm a sushi guy. So
Yeah. Okay. And then best tourist attraction?
the best tourist attraction. Well, I've been to Disneyland probably, I don't know, 100 times. I love Disneyland.
Over Tibet?
My God, Tibet's a nightmare.
Really?
Yeah, all these Chinese guys walking around with machine guns. You can't even mention the Dalai Lama without like getting in trouble and being thrown out of the country. I mean, it's hardcore, man.
Wow.
The Chinese basically said, hey, this is great. They have all these resources and they're a Buddhist nation. They have no army. Let's just go kill everyone and take what we want.
Matthew, how do people get a hold of you? How do they get your book?
You got to go to MatthewFerry.com.
Okay.
And if you go on to Amazon, then you can track down my book, Quiet Mind, Epic Life.
I love that title. Love that book. You want to talk real quick about your Enlightened Mastermind that people might have an interest
Sure.
in?
I think probably more relevant would be to just go and check out MatthewFerry.com and just see what else we have coming up. So like we just started an 8-step manifesting course. We're going to be doing Breakthrough to Bliss coming up here pretty soon. We're thinking about doing a more advanced mastery class around investing. But yeah, we got all kinds of stuff coming up. We don't open our mastermind except for one time per year in October. So there's plenty of stuff to do. Come hang out if you want to get into quiet mind states and be able to catch the mind going crazy, like mine just did with the Tibet thing, right? You saw it's just like, it just goes.
Well, I love hanging out with you, and I know others will too. So thanks for being here today. I appreciate you. I appreciate your time. But hey, I'm going to move you to the back room. If you hang out with me for a minute, I'm going to say goodbye.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Hey, everybody, that was my interview with Matthew Ferry. And you know what? Go to MatthewFerry.com, learn more about him, learn more about his teaching, training, coaching, his books. You know what? It made a difference in my life over the years. I know it'll make a difference in yours. Remember, share this episode with somebody else. Smash the subscribe button on YouTube so when we bring good stuff. Hey, thanks for being here. Everybody have a great week. Be intentional about what you're doing and spend some time with yourself alone. Take care, everybody.
Thank you, Mike, and thank you for joining us for another great episode of Insider Secrets. As always, Insider Secrets is brought to you by My Core Intentions. Wherever you hang out on social media, you will find Mike and My Core Intentions. Please like and follow us to get the most up-to-date real estate investing trends. Visit mycoreintentions.com, where you can get expert coaching on all things real estate investing and property management. If you're looking to become an expert, Mike's coaching will help you scale your real estate investment business. We're looking forward to having you back again next week for more Insider Secrets.